In the shadow of the Carpathian mountains, where the forests breathe secrets and snow falls like whispered curses, a forgotten brotherhood once stood between the mortal world and the chasm beyond. They were known as the Molfars, mystics of the highlands, bound by blood and silence, guardians of the threshold between light and the ever-hungry dark. It was said that on nights of great holiness, Christmas, Easter, All Saints, when prayers rose into the heavens and churches glowed with candles, the border between worlds thinned, and through that gossamer veil something ancient stirred. The villagers of Varokta still remember, not in words, but in the way they leave a candle burning on the windowsill, even when the wind howls through the eaves, and how they salt their doorsteps and never, ever speak ill of the snow, because they remember him, the last true Molfar. His name was Danylo, a man of few words, with eyes like winter rivers, gray, deep, unmoving, born under a blood moon and baptized in a thunderstorm. He was the last of the Carpathian bloodline, the last to carry the mark of the birch, a silver scar, shaped like a tree branch that wrapped around his forearm from elbow to wrist. They said he could speak to the wind, that he knew the names of every spirit in the valley, and which ones to fear. He lived alone in a crooked wooden house built into the side of a cliff, half swallowed by moss and frost. He never came down to the village except to collect herbs, bones, or beeswax. And yet they respected him, feared him, prayed for him, because they knew when things moved in the woods that should not, when cattle were found frozen with eyes wide and tongues black. It was Danylo who went into the forest alone, and when he returned, things stopped. Until that one winter, the year the snow came early and did not stop. The year birds flew backward, and a red moon hung low above Mount Pip Ivan. The year that Christmas came, not with carols, but with screams. It began 3 nights before the holy evening. Children dreamed of burning trees. The dead were seen walking near the cemetery gates. A priest found his cross hanging upside down, coated in ash. And deep in the forest, someone or something had carved a perfect circle of black fire into the snow. Nothing would grow there. Nothing would move, not even the wind. Danylo knew. He had waited for this. The signs had been coming for years, the thinning of the barrier, the rot beneath the roots, the way the sun seemed to bleed longer each solstice. Something from the other world was pushing through, something that had learned patience. And now it had chosen the holiest night of the year to enter. They called it the Night Veil, an ancient moment between December 24th and 25th, when even angels turned their gaze away in mourning, for the veil between realms opened just wide enough for one thing: passage. That Christmas Eve, Danylo did not dress in furs or bring talismans. He wore only a simple cloak, stitched with birch runes, and carried a staff of rowan wood, older than the church itself. As he stepped into the forest, the air changed. No snow fell, no wind stirred. The trees seemed to lean inward, as if listening, and in the heart of the woods it waited. A shadow that did not move, a cold that did not freeze, a darkness that breathed. The devil, or something older than the word, had taken form. It had no shape, yet wore many: a goat's skull crowned with ash, a man's body stitched from black roots, eyes that reflected nothing but the terror of the one who looked. It spoke, but not in words, in thoughts, in memories, in pain, and Danylo stood his ground. He summoned the names of old gods, Harun, Vels, Deshbo, though he knew none would answer, not here. Not now. He called upon the mountain spirits, the wind beasts, the earth mothers. He sang in the forgotten tongue of the Hutzels, and the forest shivered. The two forces clashed, not with swords or fire, but with silence and will. The devil sought to wear him down, showed him visions of his dead, father screaming in the flames, his own corpse torn by wolves, the mountains burning under crimson skies. But Danylo held, until the devil offered him a choice. Step aside, it whispered. Let me in, and I will spare them. You are the last, you owe them nothing. Danylo smiled. I owe them everything. And he did the unthinkable. He broke his staff. The moment the wood snapped, a thunderclap rolled across the valley. The barrier, thin as it was torn, but not by the devil, by Danylo himself. He opened a rift, not to let evil in, but to pull it back, and then he stepped into it, with the creature wrapped around him like a cloak of smoke. His last words echoed behind him, carried on the snow. If the gate must open, let it open through me. Then silence, and the snow fell again. The villagers waited, but Danylo never returned. Days passed, then weeks. The snow began to melt, and the winds returned to their usual songs. The forest quieted. The birds came back. Life moved on. But something had changed. That winter marked the last true snowfall in Voropta. Every year after, the Christmas night came colder, quieter, and with it, an uneasy stillness that settled over the valley like frost on stone. No one spoke of it. No one dared, until the child, a boy no older than 6, wandered too far from his family during the midnight liturgy. He followed a strange glow, a silver light, pulsing deep between the trees. The boy claimed he saw a man standing by a stone wrapped in mist, holding a broken staff that shimmered like ice under fire. He said the man looked at him and smiled, not with joy, but with warning. The villagers followed the boy's path the next morning, and there it was, a circle of untouched snow, burned into the ground with ancient runes they could not read. In the center, a stone split in two, its edges blackened, its heart glowing faintly. They called it the Rift Stone, and from that day on, every Christmas Eve, people reported strange visions. A man walking the forest with glowing eyes, shadows pulled backward, away from him, screaming wind that suddenly silenced near the stone, wolves howling once, then vanishing for the night, and always the scent of birch and burned wax. They began leaving offerings at the stone, bread, salt, iron nails, even silver coins, not as worship, as gratitude. They knew he was still there. Danylo had not died. He had become something else, a guardian not of flesh, but of will, of purpose, of the threshold between light and oblivion. The elders whispered that his spirit fused with the rift itself, standing eternally as the final lock. His consciousness drifted through the forest like winter wind, watching, listening, waiting, because what he had imprisoned was not destroyed. The devil, or the thing that wore its skin, had not died. It remained, trapped in the fold, scratching at the edges of the veil, learning, remembering. And it hated. Each year it grew smarter, hungrier. Each year the pull on the veil became stronger. And each year Danylo held the line. But he was alone. Until now, because the signs have returned, the birds fly backward again. The priest's cross weeps blood. Children dream of burning trees. The snow whispers names not spoken in centuries. And somewhere, high in the mountains, on a night not unlike that cursed Christmas Eve, the rift stone glows. But this time, not faintly. It pulses, like a heartbeat. They say a new child is born in the valley, under blood moon, with eyes like frozen rivers, and a silver scar around his forearm. The line has held, but for how long? E.N.D.